6. being a spokesman. I've lived in Atascadero for 15 years. I've been on the planning commission for 5 years. I have volunteered as a youth softball coach. I have volunteered with the Methodist Church as well. Really love Atascadero, and one of the things I really want to strive for is to make people realize that we are a community and that we're stronger together. That's why my campaign color is purple, because Atascadero is completely half Republican and Democrat. And so a lot of things that we care about as people who live in Atascadero are not partisan issues, and that's why the City Council is a non-partisan office. We care about having our roads paved. We care about more affordable housing. We care about we care about things that matter to all of us as a community, and when we work together, we're more productive. Many people live next to neighbors who sometimes need their support, and political affiliations don't come into that. When someone's in need in our community, we come to their aid. And so I'd like to encourage, I'd like for the City Council and to foster a more inclusive and communicative and cooperative environment for everyone who lives in Atascadero. So that's why I want to be on City Council. Thank you.
My name is Seth Peek. Been a resident of Atascadero for 12 years. I moved here from San Diego, where I was born and raised down near La Jolla. I came up here to surf. My friend lived here, and I love nature. This is a beautiful area. It reminded me of Southern California. I could imagine it before I was born, and just really drew me to the area. Been here for 12 years. I met my lovely wife, Karen, here 11 years ago playing softball in a co-ed league. We bought our first home in Atascadero in 2014, about 10 years ago, next month. Believe it? And ever since then, we just got tied into the community, decided to start my first business here.
I can't imagine myself living anywhere else. During the pandemic in 2020, it was a really rough time as a business owner here. I had to let go of 9 guys in one day, and it was a really rough time, and it got me kind of spurred to become of service, and I joined the Rotary Club. We had a friend, Tessa, who was in the Rotary Club, and she encouraged me to join, and it's been the best thing I've done for just building a network of friends and just being able to serve the community. Besides that, I've gotten involved in the Chamber of Commerce and just really enjoyed my time with them, getting to know more of the business community. I really love what we've got going on here at Atascadero, and I look forward to being a support to the safety of our town and the economic vitality. Thank you.
Give him a second here. Is it on? All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Dariz. I'm running for re-election to Atascadero City Council. I'm a 21-year resident of Atascadero. Moved here, before that was 11 years in Los Osos. I moved to the area in '91 to go to Cal Poly, where I earned my architecture degree. And then, like I said, we moved here in '03 because our family was just growing. And we figured we would get the best bang for our buck here. And I have absolutely no regrets. It's one of the best moves I've ever made. The last 16 years living here in Atascadero, I've devoted a lot of that time to community service through my Kiwanis Club. I was the president of the club in 2015 and 16. At the end of my presidency, I needed a new treasurer because the treasurer was stepping down. Nobody raised their hand, and I here, and I'm still the treasurer. So that's been 8 years. So during my time in the Kiwanis Club, very early on, I met council member at the time, Tom O'Malley. He might have even been mayor at the time, I'm not sure. But right away, with my background as an architect, he says, "Hey, I want to get you on the planning commission," to which I thought I didn't know anything about it. But I've never shied away from a challenge, so I said, absolutely, I want to do this. I want to learn what that's all about. I think it'll be fun to get involved in the city at that level. no sooner was my feet barely wet on the planning commission, he said, we're going to get you on the city council. And I resisted on that one for a little bit. But I ultimately did it, and I'm glad that I did. I've learned so much with working with the city of Atascadero, and I would like to continue my service for another 4 years at least, hopefully more than that. So I hope I can earn your vote tonight. Thank you.
Our first question, is the mic on? Thank you. Our first question is, what is your position on adding more pickleball courts?
Wow, I did not expect that question. I think that we should, wow, this really threw me. I think we have 4 pickleball courts now, and I think that's wonderful. I think that we probably should make sure that we strike a balance for all the sports in Atascadero. Make sure that we have enough soccer and softball and baseball and all the other things before we add more pickleball courts. But I know it is a growing sport, and I just signed my son up to take the youth pickleball league thing that happens at the end of October, so I'm excited for him to get involved with that and learn more about the sport. The thing I would say, the one thing that concerns me about more pickleball courts is that I'm not sure it can be used for other things, so I would want to make sure that we could use that space for maybe other things when it's not pickleball season, if there's a season for pickleball. So yeah, that's my outlook on more pickleball courts.
Thank you. Mr. Peek.
Thanks for opening it up with such a light question. I don't know if there's a season for pickleball either, and I hope we don't have the pickleball tennis war like Paso has had. You know, I've heard the tennis courts can be contentious. When it comes to something like that, there's a pickleball club. Is there a pickleball club? I think there is a pickleball club, right? So get together and, you know, figure out how you can raise the money to. She's shaking her head. This is a really tough question. If there's enough interest for something, there should be enough to satisfy the population that does it to the degree where they can, you know, make it happen, you know, come together and make it happen. I don't think it should be a city mandated construction project, but I'm all for sports and hobbies. That's my answer, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Dariz.
I'm glad I didn't have to go first on that one. I wish the city had the budget and the space to put in more pickleball courts. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in the country, especially among the older population. I mean, what better way to keep yourself young than to get out there and actually be active? You know, that's the thing that I worry about myself, is what am I going to do for exercise as I get older and older? And I can play pickleball. Actually, I've done it, and it's a lot of fun. I'm for it. You know, the pickleball courts that we have now was a bit of a collaborative effort with the club. They raised some money. The city threw in some money. I think we probably threw in a lot more than they did. But if we can get clubs and the residents to get the money together and find a place for it, I'm all for it. I think the more the merrier. Let's get people out there staying healthy, and enjoying the outdoors. So I see absolutely no problem with it at all.
Thank you. Mr. Dariz, you'll get the next question. What are your priorities if you are elected?
My top 3 priorities. Oop, is this on again? Hello? Okay. My top. I don't think it's on. There it is. Okay, top 3 priorities. I think my number 1 priority, and I've said this over and over, is public safety. I think public safety in Atascadero, or any city for that matter, is super important. It really goes along with quality of life. I mean, if you don't feel you're safe in your community, then your quality of life is going to go down. You're not going to be out and about doing things. So I think supporting our police and fire to the maximum that we can with the budget that we're allowed, I think is highly important. We need to make sure that is a priority. Other priorities, second priority, it's hard to put them in order really, because they're all equally important. Economic development. in Atascadero. I want to see a good, especially higher paying jobs come to town. Head of household jobs, bigger and better businesses coming into town. We want to see people come and, get up in the morning and say, I'm going to Atascadero because I want to shop there, or there's restaurants there that I want to visit. So if we can accomplish especially that, then we'll get people coming to Atascadero, become that destination, so we can raise money through taxes, and that in turn, again, goes towards the quality of life. You'll see a lot of things happen in Atascadero with tax money that we're able to raise, especially the roads. So probably, I guess, a good transition, probably my third highest priority would be the roads. I want to see the roads continue to be taken care of. F-14 was passed in 2014. It's about to sunset. I'd like to see that half-cent tax measure continued so we can continue to raise that money to take care of our roads. And just one quick note on that, we do raise about $3 million a year for that. So over the past 10 years, $30 million have been spent on the roads. And it's covered about a third of the roads that we have in Atascadero. Thank you. Stop signs up.
Thank you. Ms. Keen.
So my 3 priorities, I would say that one of the biggest priorities that's kind of been becoming more clear to me through this campaign is that we as a city need to work on our communication with our residents. I know that the city depends a lot on Facebook for communication, but not everyone has that. In particular, there's been a lot of road construction, which is fantastic, but residents don't always know when the road to their house is being closed for the day or 2 days. And it can cause real issues. I had to chase down a package that I needed one day because Traffic Way was closed when I didn't know it was going to be closed, and I had to get that package. And I just worry about people who need nurses to come care for elderly members, or people who are coming into town who are expecting to get to locations. If the city could find a better way to communicate that. And so I really want to talk to the different departments and find out how Public Works communicates road closures, how we communicate those things to our residents. Another thing that I'd really like to do is, continue on the economic development, as Mark said, and, get more mixed use, get more things downtown. I know it's going to be a really long process, and it might not happen in fact, I'm pretty sure it won't happen in the next 4 years, but I think that we need to definitely start those conversations. How do we do this? How do we, think about getting plans in place that will help our children in 10, 15 years? And then getting more affordable housing, working with developers and making it attractive to come to Atascadero and build those houses for young people and our senior people, anybody who needs affordable housing. Those are really my top 3 priorities, I would say.
Thank you. Mr. Peek.
Economic development, public safety, and fiscal responsibility are the 3 main things I'm running with, and I'm really tied in with the business community here. And what a lot of people are saying, especially in construction and the service industry, is there's not a lot of place for them to go. I'm really optimistic with the general plan update to where we can have some more maker spaces. We'll have more roll-ups that are available for people, businesses like ours, where we don't have to move our shops to Tin City or to Commerce or out of town, where we can find better price per square foot, to be frank. Somewhere where I'm looking forward to the north end of town, where there's opportunities like that down the road coming up after the general plan's adopted. I also want to make sure with public safety that our residents are taken care of and they're aware of our, the different things that the police are doing on a daily basis that are often unnoticed, but also our business community. There's a lot of people along the main corridor where both our businesses are on El Camino Real that are unclear on what the police are allowed to do, unclear on what the police will do, and what the best plan of action is to go about when you have a problem with someone in the community, disrupting your business or causing a scene or having a mental episode. So I think having an opportunity to educate our public, both in the residents and the business community, on what the best plan of action is, a guidebook for dealing with a problem you might be facing in your neighborhood or around your business. Fiscal responsibility is just, can't operate well without a balanced budget. My businesses would be out of business if I didn't do that correctly, and I just really think it's the foundation of running a successful government.
Thank you. Ms. Keen, will you start the third question? Do you support L24, the sales tax measure?
Yes, I absolutely support the sales tax measure. It's actually a continuation of F14, which was passed about 10 years ago, and it will sunset, I believe, in the next couple of years if we don't pass this extension. F14 is a general fund tax. However, the city of Atascadero wanted it for roads, and I think the large majority of it, if not all of it, has been used for roads. The thing I particularly like about it is that it includes a oversight committee that publishes regular reports so that any citizen can go get that information. And I think transparency in how tax revenue is being spent is really important to establish trust with the city and to make sure that the money's going to where people are telling us it's going. So yeah, I absolutely support the measure and hope everyone approves it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peek.
Yes, I do support L24. I've definitely seen a major increase since the 12 years I've been here on the roads in Atascadero, especially in the last few years since we've been utilizing it. I don't see any downside to it. I think the oversight committee does a great job. I've talked to a lot of people around town that were very skeptical about it, and now they're not. So that's a testament to a fantastic committee, and that's my short answer. Definitely in support.
Yes, thank you. I kind of touched on this already, but yeah, I absolutely support the extension of the sales tax. L24 will extend F14. As I said, it was passed 10 years ago without that half-cent sales tax. That was critical to be able to get the roads taken care of the way we have. A lot of people don't realize we have the largest miles of road in Atascadero than any other city in the county, and we're able to take care of those roads with the leanest budget of any city in the county. So it's pretty remarkable that we're able to do that. Without F14, and over the last 10 years, as I mentioned, about a third of the roads and a third of the miles have been taken care of through that sales tax. Without that, you would have seen a lot of deterioration throughout the city. So I think it's critical that we continue that and continue to take care of our roads. We've got a lot more roads to go, but I think extending it with L24 is absolutely important. So I totally support it.
Thank you. Mr. Peek, what experience do you think makes you qualified to be a part of the city government?
Well, the low-hanging fruit is that I'm boots on the ground in downtown for 10 hours a day and sometimes 7 days a week. I'm in both offices. I'm in coffee shops, restaurants all over town. I have a pretty strong finger on the pulse on what's going on in town, both visually, economically, and just people enjoying themselves at the park. I'm around town a lot. People that know me know that I'm an observer, and I get to know people's names. I get to know people I don't even know their names, but I could describe to you what kind of bike they ride, and my wife thinks I over-observe. I just think I have a really strong pulse on the community. Besides owning businesses here and being a member, the president of the Rotary Club, being on the chamber board, going to every event that Banish and her team throw, it's just a phenomenal place to live, and I just think that I have a very strong finger on the pulse of the town.
Thank you. What makes me qualified to be on the city council? Well, I have 14 years of experience to date, 10 years on the planning commission, and the last 4 years as city council. I've gotten to know a lot of the business owners in town. My involvement with the city through the Kiwanis Club has got me finely tuned with a lot of the issues throughout the city. But I think the main, and I also believe that my background as an architect, in understanding development to a certain, maybe not to some of the degree that goes on at the city level, but I think I understand development and architecture and things that I think are going to shape the city in a way that is for the good. So I think my unique perspective lends something that maybe others don't at this particular moment in time. But I think mostly my experience with the city council and the people that I've worked with makes me pretty well qualified to continue on the city council.
Thank you. Ms. Keen.
Okay. So can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Happy to. What experience do you think makes you qualified to be a part of the city government?
Well, first of all, I've been on the Planning Commission for 5 years, and that has really given me insight into how the city government works. It's helped me get to know many of the people who work in the city, and it's really been able to help me share with the community what's going on in the city. There's a couple of Facebook groups that I'm active in, and I really like to share information with them so that people know what's going on. I've also been a soccer coach, a youth soccer coach, which if you've ever done that, trying to get 10 8-year-olds to cooperate, I mean, if you can do that, there's really not much you can't do. I have been involved at ECHO, and so I have seen some of our homeless population up close and personal. And I'm hoping to learn more about, what our city needs to do and what we are doing to help them. And not just our city, but community-wide. This isn't just a problem in Atascadero. I am very friendly. I know a lot of people in the community. My children hate going grocery shopping with me because I always wind up talking to somebody. And I think that what makes me most qualified is that I'll put in the work. I take this being a public servant very seriously. The people of Atascadero are voting me in to do a job, and it's a very important job. And, it's my pleasure to do it. It's my honor. And I think that if you can campaign, if you can put that work in, then you can do the work of the city council of showing up at those meetings and representing the people. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dariz, in what ways will you be advocating for youth? And what do you think are the most important issues facing youth in our community?
How would I advocate for the youth? Well, I think youth sports is really important. I think, keeping the kids active as best we can, and what the city can do to make sure that we have the programs available for kids. Both my kids, they're long out of high school now. My daughter was a gymnast, so she was in a couple different gyms here in town, so it was nice to see that. My son played baseball and soccer and basketball, and I think I coached everything but soccer. I did not do soccer, but I coached all that. So I will always advocate for youth sports in particular. What was the other part of your question?
What are the most important issues facing youth in our community?
Yeah, well, I was surprised to find out at the beginning of, I think it was this year, maybe it was last year, gang activity that's actually kind of infiltrating into our city. I mean, when I moved here, I moved from the Bay Area, Stockton area, and that, to me, that's where gangs are happening. Stockton, LA, San Francisco. When I heard about gangs here, I shook my head and went, that's garbage, but it's not. So if you're not going to believe it, then your head's in the sand. Our police department is on it, and I think that as long as we have the right people that are in tune to what's that type of thing that's happening, keep the kids safe, keep them out of that lifestyle, and let's keep them doing good for the city and in the city, and keep them in sports. I think sports and athletics is a good thing.
Thank you. Ms. Keen.
Gang activity. So I I think that one of the things that I've really learned in this campaign is working with Ronnie DeCoster and Matt Pennon as they run for school board, and learning some of the challenges that they face, not them, but that kids face in schools, getting food, getting parents involved with issues, things like that. And so I think that having the city council and the school board having that open conversation about, what do we need? What can we do for one another? How can we cooperate? Things like the pool at Atascadero, making sure that during the summer that the city and the school can work together to have that open so that kids have a place they can go that's not going to cost a lot of money. Because youth sports are great, and I love them, and the city gives a lot of vouchers for them, but not everybody knows about them. And so sometimes youth sports can be cost prohibitive. So I'd like to see how much we're spending on those and how we can get more information out about those to give more kids opportunities to play sports in Atascadero. But then we've got the teenagers, and I've been trying to talk to a lot of them to find out what is it that you want, what is it that you need, and a lot of them say there's just nothing to do, which, as I have said before, is probably just a regular teenage kind of answer. But I think that just sometimes hearing them and having those discussions with them is really important. Also advocating for them, with what happened with Pride this year. A lot of young people felt incredibly upset about what happened with that. And I don't know that the city properly addressed it at all. And so, when our young people don't feel welcome in their city, then they're gonna leave. And we can put in as much affordable housing and bring in good jobs as we want, but if the LGBTQ youth community doesn't feel accepted and welcomed here, then they're not going to be here, and they're going to go. The other thing that a lot of youth are telling me is that all they do is work and school, work and school, work and school. And so that's another way we can advocate for them, is making sure they can afford to live here as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peek.
So I'm a big advocate in keeping people busy, keeping kids busy. I started working when I was probably illegally working when I was 14. I got my first job when I was 14 in junior high school. Sports are great, and I'm a big supporter of the Boosters Club, local little leagues, whoever, if they ask us for money for sports, we're all about it in terms of sponsoring personally with our businesses. But I think a lot of children, a lot of teenagers, they don't like to play sports, right? So doing things like entrepreneurial programs where you could have internships, like high school internships with companies, there's summer, there's nights and weekends, or different job opportunities, encouraging our youth to get a job. And it's something that I'm really glad that my dad did when I was in high school, and it taught me a really good work ethic, and it made me figure out what I like to do in life. And that's, basically customer service and sales and taking care of people's needs. I think having the idea, building upon something like the Chamber has that awesome program, the Junior CEO, and if you've never been to that, that's an amazing thing to watch these kids come up with these business ideas and present them to the community. I'm sure we could have more opportunity like that where there's a broader year-round welcoming environment where children that want to get a job or learn something new, they can have an internship with a company like ours, or maybe like with Mark with architecture, with Tori with paralegal, like where they can learn a skill. They can learn from somebody in the community a skill. There definitely is an element of gangs and public safety after school. I went on a ride along with the police, and they showed me the different gang signs, and these are Paso kids, these are Atascadero gangs, kids, whatever you want to call them. So it's really important to know that public safety is top of mind, because when you're coming to and from school, you don't want your kids having to deal with that kind of stuff. So keeping kids busy with sports or even extracurricular activities like a young entrepreneurial club or other service clubs, youth service clubs, is a great idea, and I think it should be encouraged all the time.
Thank you. Ms. Keen, what is your favorite thing about Atascadero, and what would you do as a council member to help make sure it continues?
My favorite thing about Atascadero is going to community events and seeing people I know. Just really going anywhere in town and seeing people I know. I love the small town feel of Atascadero. I love our community. I love how they reach out to people who are going through tragedies and they come together. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running is so that I can help remind people of that when it comes down to it, we're all neighbors. Atascadero just isn't that big, right? It's like 7 miles long and 2.5 miles wide. I said to someone the other day, I think we're all about 2 degrees away. When I meet someone new, we start chatting and we almost always find somebody that we have in common. So it makes me, really happy when I go out to things and see people I know and know I'm going to run into somebody. That sense of community is what gives Atascadero its warmth and its flavor and its the downtown where people run into each other and it feels like a community. I think that's one of the things we really need to keep as we develop downtown is that neighborhood community feel. So, that's always in the forefront of my mind is how we can keep that community feel, how we can work together, how we can come together to deal with and discuss the things that's important to Atascadero residents, and make sure that it's about working with our neighbors to do these things, and that divisive issues just don't separate us when they're just not important in Atascadero. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peek.
What drew me to Atascadero originally is the fact that it fits like it's the sense of place here is pretty prominent. I came from San Diego in a sort of a suburban neighborhood near the beach, sort of on the east side of the 5. And when I moved here, you have all these trees, but then you have the grocery store, you have the movie theater, you have the restaurants, and you're 20 minutes from the beach, and you're 20 minutes from wine tasting, and you're 20 minutes from downtown SLO. But Atascadero hasn't lost its overall charm in terms of nature. Our big oak trees, everything fits in. And I really think the way the city's done, the planning commission's done with keeping the sense of place when it comes to not overdevelopment with, clear cutting like our oak trees and building them up like you see a lot of other places in California. I really like Atascadero in terms of how it blends in, and it's a place unto itself among a bunch of other towns and cities in the county that all kind of synthesize together, but they're sorry, I'm a little thrown off. That's it for now.
Thank you. Mr. Dariz.
What I really like about Atascadero, there we go, now we're on. I've always liked the small town feel of Atascadero. It's so comfortable. I don't know how else to put it. The next thing, and what started happening in the last, maybe 10, 12 years, I'm not sure exactly when, the events that we have get better and better every year. And what I would do to preserve that is to tell Terry Banish that she can never retire. So, because I think she's single-handedly responsible for a lot of the events that we have here. And I see Josh sitting right there too, so I'm going to give him some credit too. The chamber is great. But I think the whole hometown, small-town feel of Atascadero, the summers are great. Even when the weather's not nice, we have events that are around town that I love to go to. My involvement, again, with my involvement in the city and the Kiwanis Club, I'm in tune. I know when these events are happening just by nature of my activity. So I hear these all the time, and I try to hit every single one of them, and I can't. But I think that's the thing that I love most about Atascadero is that it's just such a fun place to live. The people are great, and the events, like I say, get better and better every year. It's a fun place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peek, what partnerships and collaborations would you consider to be essential for your success as a council member?
What partnerships? I think the people that have the largest bead on the town and in the town are awesome nonprofits like Echo, our service clubs like Kiwanis, like the Rotary Club, Optimist, our Elks Lodge. nonprofit schools like Del Rio or Escuela Del Rio. Sorry, I'm having a blank. Like different nonprofits in town that are really keeping things going behind the scenes. You know, I think a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to them when it comes to all the things that the government can't do. These nonprofits are chugging along on a daily basis. Partnerships with the school district, our local youth sports, you know, like Tori was saying with the soccer coaching, just knowing what everybody's needs are, not being able to address them all the time, but having an open door policy where you can hear what everybody's dealing with and what kind of resources we all need. Because sometimes I won't be able to give you the resource or be able to point you in the right direction, but you know, I value myself as a connector, and I usually know somebody who can help you. That's kind of my skill set. So I think just partnerships are second nature to me. Building a network of relationships is just what I'm all about. It's what I do on a daily basis, and I really would lean on our local nonprofits and those that are caring for our population. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think Seth kind of hit on it. I think one of the best partnerships that we have as a city are the service clubs that we have in town. Of course, I'm going to brag on the Kiwanis Club because we've Mr. Rotarian over here. Because we're I mean, and even the Rotary Club does a lot of good stuff too, and I think we all do it so under the radar. That's what we're so humble and with what we do for the community, the amount of money that we raise, and it goes right back into the community under with no overhead. So when we raise, especially the Kiwanis Club, when we raise, whatever money we raise, 100% of that goes back into the community through whatever programs that we're targeting. Just recently, this last June, our annual winemakers dinner, we were able to write an $80,000 check to Echo, another one of our great partners in town. So that was really quite remarkable. I'm proud to be part of the club for that. But I think partnerships like that with the nonprofits, I think, are good for the community. They're good for the city. It's just a good look, and I'd like to see stuff like that continue.
Thank you. That would be Ms. Keen.
Partnerships. I think that every time I go to an event, whether it's in Atascadero or when I went to the Hispanic Heritage Festival, just walking around and learning about the government sources or services that we have, the nonprofit services that we have, it really helps me to have more information, to help the residents of Atascadero, the voters. I learned the other day that you can call, I think it's 811 for almost anything, housing, food, anything. And so I think that, just talking with people, going to these events, making those connections with the government services, the nonprofits, and just people in general. You never know when you're going to need the services of a small business or anything. I think partnerships in general are important. Like I said, with the school board, having this, because we're a small city and we only have, one school district in our town, having that partnership so that we can combine resources to make sure that we are serving our public as much as possible. Also, the communication between City Council and Planning Commission and the DRC, although there are overlaps on members. But, Susan and I have had a lot of conversations regarding things when I have questions, and that's really helpful too. So I'm a big fan of any partnerships. I also think we need to make sure that we have partnerships with the county, particularly behavioral health services, social services. I work in family law, and so I know that sometimes people are in need of services that the city can't give, but the county does. So I think that's a really important partnership as well. I think that's my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dariz, what is your position on the homeless population of Atascadero?
That's always a very I don't think my mic's on there. It is. That's always a difficult question to try to address because it's important. It's happening all over the country. California more than anywhere, from what I understand. Of all the homeless population in the entire country, 1/3 of it is in California. Probably mostly due to the climate. First and foremost, we all have to understand and remember that these are people. We need to have compassion for what issues they're dealing with that has them living on the streets. We have ECHO, which has done a great job for people that are looking for help, that has exceeded their numbers last year already with 3 months to go to get people into permanent housing. I think we need to make sure that those types of programs are available, do what we can to help with that. The homeless population living on the streets and having encampments around town in areas where it's uncomfortable for the rest of the population really needs to be addressed, and in a compassionate way, which is, I think, what we're doing. In 2019, the Ninth Circuit Court ruled on a case, Martin versus Boise, that basically allowed a homeless population to pretty much camp anywhere they wanted, and that made it difficult for our law enforcement to be able to address that. That has since been not necessarily overturned, but it's changed a bit to where now we can enforce ordinances and camping ordinances. But I think it needs to be addressed. One quick thing I want to mention, we do have what's called a CAT team, or a CAT, Community Action Team. 2 police officers that are in daily contact with the homeless population here in town. They know they know their names, they know their issues, so they know everything that's going on. We've gone from about 65 down to about 30, 35 homeless people in our city, and I think just addressing them and keeping them moving along is really all that we can do at this point. We need more funding.
Thank you, Ms. Keen. And Ms. Keen is
I think
Frozen.
technical difficulty. While they're working through that, Ms. Keen, we're going to ask Mr. Peek to answer that question.
Yeah, we have to remember that there's 2 types of
just froze.
homeless
Is the microwave on?
individuals in Atascadero. And like,
Can you hear me?
Mark,
Okay, so it's going.
would you like me to continue?
Can we continue, or? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Someone turned on my microwave and that disrupts our internet connection. I don't know why. So I think Mark hit a couple of really good points that, we have to remember that these are people. These are someone's sons and daughters, brothers, sisters, sometimes parents. And we need to treat them with compassion and empathy and kindness. And remember that a lot of them are ill, whether it's with addiction or mental illness. And those are sometimes the hardest things to overcome. I think that the outreach team between ECHO and our police force is fantastic, building relationships and trust and trying to get them back into secure housing and things. And I know that it's a different story for every single homeless person out there. Each one is fighting their own battle. ECHO's doing great work, and I think that we as a community depend on ECHO more than we know, and that ECHO is doing more than we know. I think that we can't necessarily have encampments around for a number of reasons, but I always come back to, if not there, where? I mean, we know we have a certain population who is going to be unhoused until those relationships can be built. And I feel like we need to find some place where they can be safely until they can get the services that they need. But first and foremost, I think I always come back to treating them with compassion and kindness. And you know what? Sometimes that means calling the non-emergency line to the Atascadero police and having them come out and help that person into a safe place for the night. And so that, again, I think goes back to my communication is sometimes people don't know who to call or when, if someone that they're concerned about is around them or on their property. And so I think we need to make sure that all of Atascadero, the citizens, know about the community action team and the police and the non-emergency line so that we can get those people the help that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Peek.
I think most people can agree that ECHO does a fantastic job. 253 individuals and families this year have found permanent housing through ECHO, which is a fantastic testament to what they do. I think a lot of the issues that residents have that I'm speaking with are not with the people that are taking the services at ECHO. They are the people that are shooting heroin behind my building or, using the bathroom on the street in front of other businesses. And I think those problems stem from drugs and alcohol. And 30 to 32, I think Officer Hammer was saying, are heavily addicted to drugs or alcohol out of the 30 to 35 that are permanently homeless for more than a couple years in downtown Atascadero. That doesn't include the people that live in the river on the other side, in county property on the other side of the water company. So what do you do about people that are addicted to alcohol and drugs? Well, you certainly can't just yell at them and tell them they have to stop doing drugs and alcohol, but you can be compassionate. You can use the tools that you have with our local CAT team, our local police, and call dispatch. People they're afraid to call because they don't know what to say. They don't know what they think they're being insensitive. Like Tori was saying, sometimes the best answer is just to call and see what do we do, right? Now, I've got Gary that rifles through my dumpster every morning, and I give him a cup of coffee and ask him to politely leave, and he obliges because we treat him with respect, but he's also not going to hang out there all day because he knows that we kind of have this agreement. When we show up, you leave. There's no harm, no foul. But you have other people that are cruising around and stealing radios out of trucks from in front of businesses or in front of service companies and stealing tools. And, there's no definite solution you can have because someone who's on alcohol or drugs and addicted to it, they won't stop unless they want to, unless they really have a desire to stop. So, with possible passing of legislature in November, it'll make it easier for people to be detained that are dealing drugs and on drugs and encourage them to go to rehabs that, we'll see what happens. But I think ECHO does a fantastic job, and I don't think that that's the population that people are concerned with.
Thank you. Ms. Keen, what will you do to address the affordable housing shortage in Atascadero?
Well, I can't do it alone. Atascadero City Council can't even do it alone. It has to be a partnership through the city and through developers. It has to be a partnership between developers and landowners. There's also a number of things that we need to do as a city to improve some infrastructure in order to support more housing. Another thing that I don't know if a lot of people know this, but every residential unit that we bring in costs the city money. So in order to support more residential units, we need to bring in industrial and commercial so that we can get higher tax revenue. We need to update our wastewater treatment plant so that we can support more people on the sewer. And we need to make sure that we're having that we're encouraging discussions between developers, landowners, and the community. If every developer who comes in has to battle over building more housing, then that's going to be a tough sell for people. So again, it comes back to that communication of, we've got this piece of land here, it would fit this many houses, it's zoned this. Community, let's come talk about it and talk about what that's going to look like. Because I know that sometimes if the city's not the first one out there to communicate, you've got other people out there communicating things, and it can get real messy. So I think that we've got some opportunity where we can build new structures. We've got some places where we can infill. We've tried to make it easier with objective design standards and ADU stock plans for people who want to come build things on property they already own, like ADUs and small structures like that. And we need to just keep having those discussions with developers to find out, how they can build build new developments in our land and bring in more jobs so that Atascadero people can work on those, and we keep all the money in Atascadero and get people places to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Dariz.
Affordable housing is very complicated in a lot of ways. Affordable housing doesn't necessarily mean affordable houses, just because we have to understand that. But the city of Atascadero has done a lot of things to encourage affordable by design. That basically means smaller, more efficiently built units. One of the things that the city has done with the zoning is, you have a lot that's zoned RMF 20. You can have 20 units per acre. Through our objective design standards, we have fractional units, which is an interesting concept. So if you have a studio, it would be considered half a unit. So theoretically, if you did everything as a studio apartment, you could do 40 on a lot that's an RMF 20 if you could fit them all on that. So that by nature right there is going to be making them more affordable. ADUs, we encourage the building of ADUs in our city to the point where the city has done stock plans where it's no charge to the homeowner. That is a huge cost saving. As an architect, I'll say, hey, you're taking work away from me, but I'm okay with that. If I can design a really nice ADU in somebody's backyard for thousands of dollars, or they can go to the city and get a free set of plans, and then all I have to do for them, and if they can do it themselves, is a site plan. It's a huge cost savings. More affordable. I'm trying to think of where I was going with affordable housing. Anyway, I just think the city has done. The other thing and the state did this several years ago, which I think was one of the best things that they did, is if you build a house or an ADU or anything, there are impact fees, and those impact fees can be kind of high. If you build an ADU under 750 square feet, those fees are waived. That's a huge cost savings, and that helps for people to be able to build.
Thank you. Mr. Peek, have you answered this question?
I have not.
Would you like to?
So the city's effectively taking away your job, Mark, right? Supply and demand, more units. We need to make more units, more houses. We need to streamline the process to build on your property. We need to streamline the process to build secondary units on your property, multifamily, if you're in the multifamily zone. People, I'm in real estate, right? But also just people in my age, I'm a millennial, that were behind the curve, and now they're 38 years old trying to buy their first house. It's pretty much, in California, it can be very difficult unless you have a, high-paying job or whatnot, or family money. And I think that it really, being able to house hack is one of our favorite things to say in my generation. And we had to do it in the beginning. We had an Airbnb in our house while we lived in it, and you have to be creative that way. But the more units we have, the higher the supply we have, the demand will start to decrease. It's a long uphill battle. I think a lot of the general plan updates will be addressing a lot of these issues. Some of the areas that are considered to be changed to multifamily or mixed commercial use along the North El Camino corridor, or even down in the middle of town. There's some areas that are up for discussion with the general plan update that's going to increase the amount of units that we have in Atascadero. And with that comes traffic, with that comes other impacts that a lot of people are opposed. But I think that you have to put people somewhere, right? And we can't all compete for the same houses. And if we want people to stay here and take up these service jobs and these other careers here in town and in the county, then we need to have a place for them to live. And we need to make it easier, not harder, for homes to be built.
Thank you. Mr. Peek again. What would you do to improve diversity among city employees? And to get a couple more questions in at the end, we're running near the end. Would you make these answers 1.5 minutes timer?
Certainly.
And for the candidates, 1.5 minutes. So for the next 2 or 3 questions, it's a little shorter. Thank you. Mr. Peek.
I think increasing diversity is being friendly to your neighbors and to the community. When when somebody says, how do you do what you do? Well, follow me and check it out, right? You certainly can't you can't force people to do what they don't want to do. I didn't necessarily raise my hand to be, service club president or anything, but when you have a heart to do something, there's generally people around you that can guide you in the right direction. And I see that a lot in this community where a lot of people are learning, how to be a part of something based on somebody's mentorship. There's no blueprint for being of service. Being of service is just something that you have a desire to do or you don't. Increasing diversity starts with just offering to help somebody and, seeing how they can lend a hand in being a part of the solution. Just being friendly to those around you and treating my neighbor like I want to be treated.
Thank you, Mr. Dariz.
Yeah, I think the best way to increase or to encourage diversity is to just know that you have a safe place where you live, that everybody's welcome, no matter who you are, what your background is. We just need to get just be a safe place, be friendly, be welcoming to everybody. I think, and I believe Atascadero is. I certainly know I am. I've realized, I look back on my life, I've had a diverse amount of friends from all spectrums, from all walks of life. But I think that's the number one thing for Atascadero, is just to make sure that we have a safe space, safe place, that everybody's welcome to join in whatever activities, employment, you name it. I mean, I can't say it any better than that. Just everybody's welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Keen.
Yeah, so I think that if we want to increase diversity, we need to make sure we're casting a wide net when we have job openings, and that we're talking to lots of different places to get as many different kinds of applicants as possible. I think that, having diversity is about just going out and making sure that we're asking a lot of people, because the more people we ask, the more diverse pool that we're pulling from. I think that we're sort of starting to get there, and that the county as a whole is becoming more diverse. And so I'm hoping that, Atascadero City, I'm hoping Atascadero City will follow that trend, but also I've heard that Atascadero is a really nice city to work for, and that jobs are hard to come by because everybody wants to stick around for a really long time. So, that's also nice to hear. So I don't think we should be kicking anybody out to make it more diverse. But I think that if we make sure that we state that we are, that's one of our priorities, then I think that we'll be able to achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dariz, what can City Council do to bring good businesses to Atascadero and retain them?
We need to make sure that Atascadero is an easy place to do business. If we're a business-friendly community, then businesses will want to come here. I think we've got a good staff that is doing that, attracting businesses to our town. I think zoning is a big part of that. If we need to make sure that we have areas for certain types of business to come in. We have a big challenge with an industrial zoning, because we just don't have areas for that. There is some industrial stuff, but we have challenges because of the way the city is shaped geographically, topography, and so on. But I think making sure that the city is a friendly place to do business, an easy place to do business. City staff, working with city staff, working with the council, rules and regulations and whatnot that we have in place that we have to implement, I think is what's most important. And just making it easy to do business and being friendly.
Thank you. Ms. Keen.
So, I personally tried to get Joann's to come in where the Kmart used to be, and I even got them on social media, and then they went bankrupt, so that didn't work out so well. But I think it's really important to remember that the city can do a lot with zoning to make sure that there are opportunities, but the city itself can't go get a company to come in. once something is built, getting businesses to come into unoccupied locations depends a lot on the landlord, the size of the rent, the upkeep of the place, and the city doesn't have a ton of control over that once the development is developed. And so, I've heard a lot of people sort of say that they're frustrated because we already have so many places that we have that are just sitting empty. And, part of that is Atascadero needs to make it an attractive place for people to come. And then while they're here, we can shop and support those small businesses. And I think that, as Mark said earlier, Terry Banish does a really good job of getting those festivals. And so if we make Atascadero a destination place, then we'll get more people coming in to support our local businesses. And then more businesses will want to be here because the people are here. So it's like building on all of those things. And so I think the general plan will be a good job of updating the zoning to make sure that we're putting businesses and commercial and industrial in the appropriate places to maximize those opportunities.
Finish up, please.
Okay, and yeah, so it's going to be a cooperation between landlords, the city, and businesses. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peek.
Well, if you've never met Lorelei in the city, she is a hound for locations if you're a business owner and you're looking to expand or you're looking to move here. If you talk to her, she's constantly looking at businesses that are outside the area to move here and open here. That is directly her job. And I think that having that resource for the city as like something to lean on is fantastic, because I can say, hey, Lorelei, I need a 5,000 square foot shop in the next year and a half. And she's like sending you MLS listings right away. She wants to help the landlords rent, and she wants to help businesses find the location. So that's just one person for sure. But I think if we make the town, symbiotically have these different pockets where like this is where you go and drink wine, eat at restaurants, go shopping for a dress or, cookie or whatever you want downtown, go see the dentist or whatever you want to do downtown, then that's what's going to be dictated by the area. If we have these different areas like in the general plan that are going to be coming up where you're going to have Innovation Flex, you're going to have mixed commercial, you have another grocery store over here, it's going to attract more businesses to town itself. If businesses are healthy in Atascadero, business owners will tell other people that own businesses to come here and check it out and have it more thrive. It's like it rubs off on people. And I know for a fact, because I have other people in the trades that ask me, do you know any places to open up in Atascadero? Most of the time the answer is no, but just wait, maybe in a year or so. So I think attracting businesses to Atascadero through the partnerships with the Chamber of Commerce and whatnot is actively happening right now. And I think it just needs to continue.
Thank you. Our final question is on safety. High school students do not feel safe walking from the high school to downtown through the tunnel. What are your thoughts on providing safety to our students and the public in the downtown area? Ms. Keen.
So I think that's interesting, because I've actually had some conversations with high school students, and they did not seem that concerned. I think parents are definitely concerned. And I've walked through there a few times, and I mean, yeah, there are sometimes people there that, are homeless and need help. So I would be interested in finding out how much safety is at risk, like how often the police are called to that area, how often high school students in particular call the police to get down there. I think that sometimes public safety can be an anecdotal thing where someone tells a story on Facebook and it explodes. I'm not saying there's not a public safety issue, but as someone who's walked their dogs around Atascadero at night alone, I've never felt unsafe. And so sometimes I think we forget that we live in a really safe town, and that we're able to maintain a safe town with I think it's 4 police officers on duty during the day and 2 police officers at night. So while I think that public safety is of course always an issue, I don't know that it's as big of an issue in Atascadero as it's always made to be. I have no problem taking my children and walking in that area, and I know many other people that don't have an issue either. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peek.
The city of Pismo Beach has a lighted tunnel that's motion censored. I think opportunities like that, we don't necessarily need to lean on the city for funding. That might be a great project for service clubs to come together, and maybe it's a great idea to put in LED lighting in the tunnel so you can't effectively hang out in there without being seen. Those are just something comes to mind right then and there. But school resource officers are tied up on campus, right? The police, there's 4 people on staff, sometimes 3 patrol guys at a time. If there's a call down the street, there's 2 of them responding to the call. All of a sudden, you got 2 more guys that are on the street, and one of them has to do a report. If you have to take someone to Kansas, that puts you out of commission for 3 hours. Now, with all the different medical tests, you have to put somebody that's detained through before they can be admitted to the jail. So a lot of the police, they're tied up. I think we have an opportunity to maybe have something to think about in terms of PTA. If it's a parent concern, mostly parent concern, maybe there's an opportunity to form some sort of patrol, after school patrol, volunteer patrol, at least just to watch out and see what's going on. As it gets later in the fall, when we lose the daylight, the tunnel is going to be darker. It just is what it is. I agree with Tori. It's not like every day you walk downtown and you're under threat of being stabbed or trying to be sold narcotics or whatever. But if you sit at Malibu long enough, you'll see something that just, makes you look sideways, or maybe like a Moloch biker in the parking lot. Like there's certain things that you're just going to see. And we do have issues, and we do have gangs, and we just, there's opportunity to improve for sure.
Mr. Dariz.
Yeah, student safety is an issue. It certainly needs to be addressed. The tunnel that in question that you mentioned that goes into the highway, there's cameras, I believe, at both ends. And there might even be some inside, I'm not sure. But I know that those are monitored, so that keeps, nefarious activities from happening, hopefully. And if it's not, then I think what we will do, and what I believe we have done, is a police presence in that area, just hanging out, just park the car there, and the officer will walk around and seeing that, and it will dissipate. At the beginning of this year, I think it was this year or last year, like I mentioned earlier, the gang activity, there were gangs that were coming into Atascadero to try to recruit some of our junior high school kids, and one of my briefings with the city manager, he said, hey, if you come into City Hall, don't be alarmed when you see 1 or 2 police cars parked around. He says, nothing's actually happening. We're just trying to prevent something from happening. And interestingly enough, it was kids that were wearing red. If they were wearing, I think it was red. If they were wearing a red shirt, it was an indicator that they were with a particular gang. And of course, the one day I went to City Hall, I was wearing a red shirt. But that police presence that was there over a couple of weeks actually helped, and it went away. It dissipated. So I think police presence is really important. We can do that. We're not a big town, so I think it's very effective. And I think as long as we're in tune to what's going on, and then we address it quickly, we can make sure that our kids are safe.
Thank you. In the interest to finish on time, I'm going to ask the final remarks to be just 1 minute, please. And we'll start with Mr. Dariz.
All right, thank you. Well, like I said, oh, my mic's off. There it is. Well, I don't really have a whole lot more to add. I mean, a lot of good questions, a lot of interesting questions. My opening remarks, as I said, I've served in this, on the city government for the last 14 years, 16 or so years in community service through Kiwanis Club. I love Atascadero. Like I said, it's one of the best moves. I've lived here longer than I've lived any other place. I don't see myself going anywhere. This is going to be probably my only move, my only place here. So I want to continue my service on City Council. I think there's a lot of things I want to see continue to be finished. I mean, that was part of in the beginning, our emergency services center, in particular the new fire station. And I'd like to continue my service with the city, and hopefully I can get your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Keen.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for everyone who made my remote attendance possible. But yeah, so just kind of going back to what I said, I've been here 15 years. I have 2 kids here who I plan on keeping here through high school, and then, you know, finally get some peace and quiet around here, right? I really love this town. I love this small town feel of it. And I'm running for city council because I think that I can be an asset and I can be a voice for people who don't feel like they're being heard currently. And I feel like that I can be that person that everybody knows they can reach out to when they have an issue, and they'll know I'll hear them and find out what I can for them. You know, I think that as a public servant, we have to remember that we're here for those people, and we've all 3 of us have worked really, really hard for our votes. But I think that, you know, I have a wide variety of experiences, from owning a small business to working in public government to working in family law, raising children, volunteering with the youth group. You know, I've done a little bit of everything, and so I'm able to connect with a lot of people and really be their voice. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keith.
Yeah, I just want to thank the AAUW and the League of Women Voters for hosting this tonight. This is a great venue. I really appreciate you all for coming out. Those that know me know that when I sink my teeth into something, I give it my all, and I don't let go. I have a real big heart for service. I mean, I do business in order to make money for myself, my wife, and our dogs. But I really wish I could just do philanthropy, charity, and run service projects. I mean, this is what I really love to do. And oftentimes I have to cut back on business opportunity some days because I get so excited that I get to go to Rotary and lead a meeting, and I like it. Being of service is something that I'm born for, and I think it really reflects in how I treat people and the fair shake that everybody gets when they deal with me. And I'm just looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you.
UW in giving the candidates a round of applause for coming here this evening. And we'd like to thank you, the audience. Your questions were excellent. Your attention was excellent. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you so much. You did a great job.
I messed up a few times.
One word
You folks.
about questions. If your